Tonight on the Outer Hour, we discuss water, a human rights issue. Hello from me, Tom London, your Outer Hour host for the next 60 minutes. What is on the show tonight? Well, normally I give you an intro. Normally I do the talking, but there's a team that runs behind the show that puts it together. And I thought it's high time that we introduce the people behind the scenes to you. So, shall we say hello this evening to our producer, Devaney Davids, and find out what's on the menu on the Outer Hour. Hello, Devaney. How's it going?
Hey Tom, I'm good, thanks. And you? Welcome to everybody who's joined the show. Tonight, our focus will be on water, and we'd like to welcome a special guest who is Mariette Lieferink, who is the CEO Federation for Sustainable Environment. We'd like to also welcome Dr. Pharrell Adam, who is our water can manager, as well as Julius Kleinhans, who is OUTA's executive of social innovations. I hope everyone enjoys the show tonight.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, you're not going to go so quickly. I managed to get you because there was a problem getting you on the screen for a second or two, but I managed to get you on the screen now. So let me ask you, just briefly, from the producer's side of the show, why have we put a show on water together tonight? Why is it so important?
Because it is a human rights issue that we are facing at the moment, and water is very important to us. So, yeah, that's all I can say tonight, Tom.
All right. Well,
I'll leave it up to our experts to explain it in depth.
Okay, cool. Well, we're looking forward to the discussion, and thank you, Devaney. Devaney Devaney puts the show together every week and never gets any screen time. So we thought, well, let's do it. Let's put Devaney on. But we can't just put Devaney on. We've got to put the rest of the team that sits behind the scenes and helps put the show together. So let's say hello to the head of marketing and comms at OUTA, but doubling up as your YouTube moderator tonight, Samantha van Nispen. How's it, Sam?
Hi, Tom. Hi, everybody.
Sam, are you standing by in the YouTube comments section?
Ready for the influx of comments. Looking forward to moderating and engaging with you all.
All right. When you deal with Sam, or when you see OUTA in the YouTube comment section, that's the face and that's the person you're dealing with. And the last but not least member of the team is Masego Mutsoneng, who will be moderating the Facebook comments tonight. When you see OUTA in the Facebook comment section, know that you are dealing with this lady. Good evening, Masego.
Good evening, Tom, and good evening, everyone. Can't wait to interact with you on the comments.
All right, well, we're looking forward, and now people know, when people start chatting with you in Facebook, now they can put a face to the handle, and that's the team behind the scenes tonight. Are you ready for the Outer Hour this evening? Water, a human rights issue. Let's get the show on the road.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Our fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The Outer Hour, where your voice matters.
Okay. Oh, my apologies. That's me hitting the mute button. Let's try that again. And apologies. I was on mute. One of those Zoom things that it happens. All right. Let me start. Let me rewind and go back to where I was. Tonight we're talking about water issues. And we're going to be talking about the issues that affect you. These issues are starting to affect more and more people. Just recently in Mamelodi, we had floods and we had devastation being caused, settlements right up against polluted rivers. In the suburbs of Johannesburg and Cape Town and metros around South Africa and even small towns, we have water supply issues. And we have issues when it comes to pollution in this country. What are we doing about it? How is it affecting and impacting you? We want to know. If you put your stories in the comment section down below so the OUTA team can start collecting that information. But the real big deal tonight is we're going to be telling you what OUTA is going to be doing about these water issues in South Africa and what the solution is. So let's say good evening to the team on air tonight. Julius Kleinans, I know him as Mr. Water because whenever I've chatted to Julius, there's always been a conversation about water. So first up this evening, let's welcome Julius Kleinans to the show. How's it, Julius? Nice to have you on board.
Lovely to be on board, Tom. It's been a while, I'm very excited to just participate tonight, especially of these two ladies I'm looking up to so much. I mean, if there's anyone with knowledge in water space, you guys are going to be amped tonight because we've got the right panel here.
Well, the panel includes Mariette Lieferink. Mariette is the CEO of Federation for a Sustainable Environment. Now, the FSE is widely recognized as the most prominent of environmental activist stakeholders in the mining industry in Africa. And Mariette is an associate researcher, guest lecturer, co-author of numerous academic papers. She was recently appointed as a human rights monitor and champion by the South African Human Rights Commission. Wow, what an intro, Mariette. We are privileged and honored to have an expert on the issue on the show tonight. Welcome to the OUTA Hour. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Tom. I think I feel honored to have been invited. I'm not an academic. I'm an ordinary person, but fortunately, I've been working along with esteemed academics. And for that, I feel very honored.
Oh, Mariette, we're going to need you to talk a whole lot louder so that we can get the Zoom picture onto you so we can see your face, because at the moment we're just getting a little bit of audio. So you could put that microphone close to your mouth and we'll try again when we get into the conversation. But good to have you on the air tonight. And then no stranger to the OUTA Hour, welcome back Dr. Ferial Adam, Project Manager of Water and Environment. Hello, Ferial.
Hi, Tom. Thank you for having me again on your show. I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion. And I want to add, I know I'm not allowed to do this, but Mariette has been nicknamed South Africa's Erin Brockovich. That's how long she's been involved in environmental affairs and fighting for the good fight for the people.
Well, you certainly are allowed to do that. What an endorsement and what a privilege it is to have Mariette on air with us tonight. The water situation in South Africa, that's what we're discussing, how it affects citizens with the focus on water quality. Talking about quantity, quality, dysfunctional wastewater treatment, current mine water management, financial monitoring and skills challenges that we face. But most importantly, how OUTA is trying to make a difference by introducing the Water Can initiative, and that's what we'll be focusing on tonight. Let's start with Mariette, shall we, to give us a bit of a background and an overview on the water situation in South Africa and the implementation status of the actions proposed in the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan. I'll break that question up quickly and just start, Mariette, could you give us an overview of the water situation for the layman out there, the average South African who's affected by these issues? How would you describe the situation in South Africa?
The South African Human Rights Commission, that is now pertaining to its inquiry into the rivers of Tshwane and the Roodeplaat Dam, as well as its inquiry into the sewage pollution of the Vaal, stated that as a result of the failing wastewater treatment plants and the pollution of the rivers, that it is in fact a national disaster. I will go into more detail regarding that, but in terms of the master plan, that is the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan, it's a laudably honest plan, because it does show the challenges, significant challenges that we face. For example, 56% of our wastewater treatment works and 44% of our water treatment works are in a poor or critical condition. More than 50% of our wetlands had been lost, and of the remaining 33 wetlands, 33% are in a poor or critical condition. Between 1999 and 2011, the extent of our main rivers in South Africa classified as having a poor ecological condition increased by 500%. With some rivers pushed beyond the point of recovery. And here I just want to refer to a recent summit that was called by the Minister of Water and Sanitation and his Deputy Minister, Deputy Minister Mahlobo, regarding the status of the rivers, that is in terms of the summit that was held on the 18th and 19th of February. It was mentioned, and I'm reading from the document, that only 19% is in a largely natural to good condition, and areas of concern are the Upper Crocodile, West Olifants and Vaal catchment. They are in poor condition, largely due to wastewater treatment works that are failing, and that is intensified by informal settlements on riverbanks and solid waste dumping, and also, of course, by mining and industries. I also just want to refer to the fact that more than 330 billion rand is required, and that is the funding gap in order to address some of these challenges. I also think that it is perhaps relevant here to also refer to the sanitation issues, because that also forms part of the SDG 6 goals or targets. 14.2 million people still do not have access to safe sanitation, and at the current rate of delivery, it will take 104 years for these persons to achieve what is stated in the targets of the SDG 6. That is the target 2. Then, coming back now, we have discussed now the state of our rivers, the state of our wastewater treatment works, just perhaps to exemplify the E. coli counts in the Karlsprout, which is a part of, it's a tributary of the Henops River. The E. coli count is 52 million counts per 100 milliliters. The regulatory limit is 400, which shows that it is significant pollution. We are not dealing here with trivial or frivolous matters. Now, in terms of the master plan, there are actions that had been proposed by certain responsible actors, as well as the time frames in which these actions must be implemented. I'm only going to highlight a few, because these actions had been proposed to be implemented by 2019, 2020 and 2021, or annually. Regrettably, these actions had not been implemented. First of all, it was the establishment of, let me just get the establishment of the Green Drop Certification Program that has occurred. That has happened last year in 2021. But with regards to the protection and restoration of ecological infrastructure, it was stated that by 2021, strategic water source and areas and critical groundwater recharge areas and aquatic ecosystems recognized as threatened or sensitive as protected area should be declared as strategic water resource areas. This did not happen, and as an organization, we are receiving applications for coal mining in some of these FEPA areas, or freshwater ecosystem priority areas, or strategic water areas, almost on a daily basis. The same protection and restoration of ecological infrastructure actions also stated that there must be a review and a promulgation of aggressive restrictions within the legislation to restore and protect ecological infrastructure. That should have happened by 2020. It was also proposed, in order for the decentralization of decision making, that financially sustainable catchment management agencies should be established by 2020. The only operational catchment management agencies are now two. The remaining catchment management agencies, there has to be six, have not been operational. Furthermore, because of all the pollution caused by municipalities, it was one of the actions that had been proposed. That was also the actions proposed by the South African Human Rights Commission, is to identify and prosecute big polluters across the country, including municipalities, with a national communications campaign to accompany the actions. The actors or the responsible persons that had been indicated in the master plan would be catchment management agencies, the National Prosecuting Authority, SAPS, the South African Police Service, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, and the Department of Water and Sanitation. We do find, notwithstanding the fact that we are operating under a one environmental system, that there is lack of cooperation between all these organs of state, both horizontally as well as vertically. That is, yes.
Mariette, you've given us a lot of information. Is it fair to say that we've got a big problem when it comes to water affairs in South Africa?
It is a national disaster, and it has been also acknowledged by our current minister, Minister Mukunu, and also Deputy Minister Mthlobo, as well as our newly appointed DG, that is Dr. Sean Phillips. I do not think that there is any doubt, it's common cause, that we are facing major challenges with regards to water. And the proposal that was made recently, that is 2 days ago, by Minister Mukunu and the DG, was in fact that there should be public-private partnerships established in order to address these challenges. I may just here mention that we have concerns about public-private partnerships, because I think as a result of the corruption in South Africa, there may be hesitancy on the part of the private sector to establish these partnerships.
You mentioned mining, and mining being part of the problem when it comes to our water quality. I wanted to ask you about acid mine drainage, and specifically in the Witwatersrand goldfields. How is that managed? For a layperson like me that doesn't know much about the technical side of acid mine drainage, could you just explain what acid mine drainage is, and then what's happening as far as acid mine drainage is concerned in Joburg? Why is that something that we should be looking at?
Yes. First of all, coal mining and also gold mining co-occurs with iron pyrite. Therefore, it is acid producing, and of course, even after mine closure, this acid production will continue. Acid mine drainage contains a wide spectrum of metals in toxic concentrations. It also in the gold fields, because our gold ore occurs with uranium, also contains radioactive metals, that is uranium and its decay products. So acid mine drainage, if there is, for example, chronic exposure to acid mine drainage, it may result in affecting the neural development of the fetus, which may result in mental retardation. It can result in impairment of cognitive function, skin lesions and cancers, besides the fact that the metals then in acid mine water also seeps or percolates into sediment or into river systems and wetlands. Now, this was recognized by the South African government in the risks. In 2002, the first acid mine water started to decant from the West Rand Basin, that is within the Krugersdorp Randfontein area. And 10 years later, the South African government then decided to establish neutralization plants in order to neutralize the acidic water. Here I want to interpose that the current treatment of acid mine water, it's approximately 200, perhaps less, million liters per day. it is pumped out of 3 basins, the Central, Eastern and Western Basin. It is then neutralized by means of lime dosing. That then adjusts the pH as a result of the pH adjustment, because acid mine water has a very low pH or is very high in acidity. The metals in acid mine water then precipitate. These metals then become a sludge, so it changes an oxidization state. From being soluble, it becomes solid. And this metal sludge is now discharged onto tailing storage facilities, into shafts, and also in pits. These metals can again be mobilized if the water becomes acidic. So the government, in order to address the water deficit within the Vaal River system, the integrated Vaal River system, has suggested that acid mine water must be desalinated by 2014 to 2015, because the current treatment of acid mine water, although it is no longer acidic, and although the metals have precipitated, the sulfate levels, the salt, in the treated acid mine drainage remain very high and therefore unfit for any use. It remains between 1,500 and 3,000 milligrams per litre sulfate. The regulatory limit is 600.
Wow.
So in order to address the high salinity in the integrated Vaal River system, it was recommended that the acid mine water not only be neutralized but also desalinated. It was also found recently, and I'm reading now from a presentation that was given at that time by the acting director of the Mine Water Management Directorate of the Department of Water and Sanitation. He stated that continuous pumping of underground mine drainage is a prerequisite, that 180 million litres are pumped per day. If 150 million litres of neutralized AMD are released in the Vaal barrage, 60 million litres of clean water has to be added or released from the Vaal Dam to address the salinity or to dilute the salinity. In a water scarce country, of course, dilution is not a solution to pollution. Then the volume in the Vaal Dam is insufficient and will have to be augmented by the Tugela Vaal and the Lesotho Highlands Water Project 2, which will only come online in 2027. And then it was also mentioned that it was assumed that in time poor water quality will separate, we call the process stratify, from the better quality water and will stay deep in the basins, especially the Central and Eastern Basin, while the water close to surface will be better quality. Depth profile monitoring has found this not to be the case.
It sounds like you know a lot about the problems that are going on, and there's a lot of awareness about the levels and where we need to get to as a country. I guess the big question is, how are we going to do it? I suppose we could talk for hours about solutions, but I'm looking at some of the comments coming in from our viewers, Mariette. And perhaps you'd be able to fill in the blanks with a couple of the questions we've got here. Here's one from Madeleine Gertsch, who says, I read that 40% of the water does not reach our meters due to leakages from degradation in the infrastructure. Is this the case? How big a problem is water leakages in our system in South Africa? Is that also part of the problem?
Yes, a very big problem. It's identified within it's referred to as non-revenue water, and it is identified in the Water and Sanitation Master Plan. Non-revenue water is as a result of leakages,
okay.
And also, of course, of non-payment. There is a culture of non-payment also with regards to water. I just want to come back to the acid mine drainage issue.
Yes.
The Master Plan did recommend the use of treated acid mine water in order to address the deficit. That is now the difference between water supply and water demand, because in terms of the master plan, it was stated that if demands continue to grow at current levels, the deficit between water supply and demand would be between 2.7 and 3.8 billion cubic meters per annum by 2030. That is a gap of about 17%. The reason why acid mine drainage is not neutralized and not desalinated and reused is because of the fiscal limitations, and in order to allow for salinity and hydrology model, the recalibration of a salinity and hydrology model. So if any of the listeners perhaps would like me to explain it in more detail, and I don't know, in simpler terms, I'm very willing to do that if they want to send me an email.
Got it. Right. Let's talk about the South African Human Rights Commission's inquiry into the sewage pollution of the Vaal River and the rivers of Tshwane. Just fill us in on what the South African Human Rights Commission found when it comes to pollution in our Vaal River and our rivers of Tshwane. What's the current status?
Yes, there was an intervention plan proposed. There was also an implementing agent appointed. The implementing agent is Rand Water. And in terms of the intervention plan, it was suggested that there should be a short-term intervention. In other words, the unblocking of pipes and also the addressing of the overflow of manholes. The cost for that, according to a report that was commissioned by the Department of Water and Sanitation, the consultants were GIP, it was stated that for the short term, that is just the unblocking of the pipes and also the manholes, that the cost for that would be, that is the capital expenditure, would be 1.01 billion rand. Up to date, that of course does not include the OPEX. To date, Rand Water has received 100 million rand, with perhaps a proposed 100 million rand again. I've been part of the intervention committee, so I've attended approximately 7 or 8 of these meetings with the intervention plan for the Vaal River system. I may just mention some of the questions I've asked to the Honourable Minister and his Deputy Minister was, for example, in terms of the directives or the recommendations of the South African Human Rights Commission, which are of course legally binding, it was stated that officials in non-compliance with legislation be dismissed, corruption to be referred to the Public Protector and the South African Police Service. As far as I know, that has not developed and not been implemented. It was also mentioned in the report of the Human Rights Commission that the Vaal is so polluted that it's almost polluted beyond recovery.
Wow.
And it's a vital resource because 19 million persons depend on the Vaal for drinking, domestic and commercial use. The Human Rights Commission also stated that the Enfuleni municipality caused the sewage pollution, but that the Department of Water and Sanitation and the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment had not been able to hold the Enfuleni municipality accountable. The report
there's that word,
concluded that
yes.
there was
There's that word, accountability again, and holding people accountable. I think we're going to focus on that a bit later on in the show. I'm looking at some of the comments that are coming in from our viewers. For example, Bernice Clark says that the river in Newcastle that runs through Newcastle, KZN, is a stinking mess. And I guess that there are a lot of people from a lot of areas in South Africa that would say the same thing. Has been for years. It's now in a shocking state with nothing being done. Pump stations broken down. The infrastructure is old, not being upgraded, not enough water, not enough infrastructure for new developments. It just paints this horrible picture about how we use and utilize and deal with water in South Africa. Here's another question for you, coming off the back of the mining discussion we were having, and this comes from Debbie, and Debbie wants to know from you if mines pay for the hugely expensive degradation of toxins and the vast amounts of water needed. Are the mines playing their part, I guess, is what Debbie's asking.
Okay. First of all, we must remember that I'm referring now as an example to the gold mining industry. The gold mining industry started in 1886. So there are legacy issues. It, of course, will be not justifiable or equitable to hold the last man standing for the pollution that had been caused historically. There had been more than 120 mines that operated over a period of, say, 130 years, which also contributed to the pollution. Currently, in terms of our financial regulations from the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, it is now required for mining companies to make financial provision, not just for current impacts, but also for latent and residual impacts that may become known in the future, and for the pumping and treatment of extraneous or polluted water. So we have seen progress made in this regard. Incidentally, the acid mine water within the Western Basin, a third of that cost is being carried by Sibanye-Stillwater. So there are some mining companies that contribute, but the majority of the cost is carried by the taxpayer, by persons who had no share in the pollution activities.
Got it. I think you've answered that question beautifully. I'm going to bring Julius Kleinans Senior. Julius, I've been listening to Mariette talk about the numbers and the problems we've got, and I almost want to put my head down on this desk and cry. It doesn't sound like a good situation at all for South Africa, and I suppose water is not. Water is one of those things that as long as it comes out the tap, we don't really worry about it. But there's a whole lot happening between our tap and where the rain falls and the catchment area and everything along the way. I mean, what Mariette is telling us is just shocking. I find it shocking. How would you characterize or summarize the water situation in South Africa?
Yeah, look, it's absolutely at a detriment state. We are facing, and we have been facing, a water crisis. Unfortunately, we all take it for granted. And unfortunately, also, if you look at the powers that be, government's not come to the party over the last decade. We've seen so many ministers and DGs exchanging roles. There hasn't been continuity. The corruption in this space is so severe. If you look at the Guyana community, for instance, which hit the news quite a lot, there's about 3.2 billion rand that got stolen there, and those people are still sitting without water. And there's various of these examples throughout the country. Unfortunately, as Mariette has just mentioned, the legacy issues of the mining in the past. Our children's going to see the legacy issues of us today, of what we've been doing wrong, and that's what we need to stop. I think there is a breath of fresh air with the new administration and the new minister. They're speaking the right stuff. We've always heard government trying to shy away from the facts, and these guys are putting it straight. They're saying, listen, we are in deep trouble, and we need the experts now to come to the party. We need private equity. We need a more sustainable solution. And it's basically all hands on deck, Tom. And when I say all hands on deck, it's important for civil society and business to help become the solution. But everyone that's sitting at home right now, you've got your own responsibility when it comes to water. We cannot waste water. And it's really each of us that needs to play that part on our daily lives. If we're not responsible ourselves, how can we complain about the authorities? But sadly, and I think you've mentioned it, accountability is the big issue here. And we've got fantastic legislation in this country. We've got such innovative water and environmental legislation, but we are yet to see an official in government to be held to account because of the pollution. And that's something that government shies away a lot from. You cannot be player and referee in this space. Sure. And I think that's where the high pressure comes from OUTA and the new water can initiative.
Well, let's talk about the new water can initiative. It's very exciting. And this initiative, what it really means is that me, Tom, from Veltervreden Park, I can do my bit. I can be part of the solution and the push to get our water affairs sorted out in South Africa. Tell us about this. I mean, this is what we really want to know is, tell us about Water Can. What is the Water Can initiative brought to you by OUTA?
We're very excited about this, and I should actually not steal the thunder from Dr. Adams. She's really the big passionate driver behind this. But to give a quick introduction, we've seen a lot of water champions out there. We've seen a lot of people very passionate about the resource, and also the environmentalists, and it's something that lies very dear to us as South Africans, to our hearts. However, we've seen everyone do their own little bit, and it's been a struggle. You're facing big corporates, you're facing government, and it's a very lonely journey. And we sincerely believe that the Water Community Action Network, and that's what WaterCan stands for, Community Action Network, specifically in the water community, to establish a platform where we can start, participating and collaborating our efforts as a water community, because very rightly so. Show me one river in this country that is not polluted. So we're all facing the same issues. Water leakages are everywhere. And in South Africa, we are a water scarce country. So everyone has to participate in this.
Well, OUTA
so we're trying to pull together the water. I beg your pardon?
No, continue.
No, so we're trying to establish a platform now, well coordinated, getting like-minded individuals, the water activists, community organizations, to speak almost from the same platform and collaborate on initiatives so that we can really be a force to reckon with. Because what we've found in the past is civil society has been very uncoordinated. And as civil society, we need to be more organized to effectively drive the change we need, because we cannot depend on 5-year cycles and changes of political chess playing. We need to step up. It's our constitutional right, and it's our duty to actually step up and participate in this initiative. But I need to ask, and Tom, I know you've got questions you want to pepper us with, but I need to ask Dr. Ferriel Adam just to give us a bit more insight on what WaterCan's all about and what we want to do over the next couple of months.
Well, let's do that. And then we've got a video that OUTA has produced, which I'm going to play. It's a minute or two long. That also gives some details. But let's ask Ferriel to give us more details about WaterCan. How do we play our part with WaterCan, Ferriel?
I think the whole premise of WaterCan is to have something called citizen science. And what that means is that all of us, we all drink water, we all use water, we all have the ability to monitor our water resources. And that's what WaterCan is saying. We're saying that government has failed. We know that government has failed and they're not going to be able to manage things. And we need to be able to be the eyes and ears on the ground. So what we're doing is there are hundreds of groups across the country that are either doing river cleanups, beach cleanups, they monitoring their water, they're looking at flow. They exist. They in South Africa, they're all across the country. And we're saying WaterCan has become that umbrella body where people can feed into a central structure, or it's not even a structure, central kind of body where they can share. And also, if we see that there's a constant problem that's growing across the country, we can make the linkages and we can take that science and that citizen science and put it into action and have ordinary people make their voices heard about their water resource, whether it's a no water, no access to water, whether it is access to dirty water, whether it's pollution and industry and government pollution. People need to start holding others accountable. And a simple way we can do this is you take a photograph and you upload it to our website, or you upload it to our water quality heat map, which we're trying to develop. And that's causing name and shame. And we can do those kind of things to create awareness that polluting our waters, you are not going to get away with it anymore. And that is what WaterCan is about. It's about building this network.
So I like Tom, I have not been to university and studied anything about water, but me and my phone or my computer, I can play a part in this now. I can help gather information. I can help find problem spots and upload pictures, etc. And then there's a central place that all this information comes to. And now you got the information, and information is power. And then we can push for accountability. Have I got that right?
Yes, and to add to that, we are working with with universities to develop a testing kit that people can use. So it's a small testing kit. We're hoping to work on it. It can test phosphates, nitrates, pH, hardness of water, and E. coli. And those are the key things that can tell you the basics about the water that you have. And that's all science, and anyone can do that. It's as much as sticking a pH strippy into your pool water, and people are doing it anyway. So that's the kind of testing kit we're hoping can become more accessible to groups around the country.
Well, I'd like the first testing kit, please. And I tell you why. Because yesterday I was at home and we've got borehole water and municipal water. And I'm always like, which one do I drink? I'm not sure which one is safer, which is cleaner, which is better. And the guys from the Rand Water came around and they take samples, etc. And this happens every couple of months. And just yesterday I asked the guy, I said, tell me, is this water safe to drink out the borehole water and he said, yeah, it's all safe to drink, but I wasn't completely convinced. And if I'd had a water kit yesterday, I would have been able to do my own tests and then upload the information to watercan.org.za and be part of fixing this problem, but also have some knowledge about it, because I don't know. You open the tap and water comes out. I've got no idea when it comes to E. coli counts and sulfates, etc., etc. So yeah, I'd like to be the first person to get a water kit, please, so I don't have to ask people in my driveway whether I can drink the water out of the taps. I want to play this video which gives a brief introduction and an explanation to what WaterCan is about, and then I'll come back with a few more questions for you, Ferial.
Welcome to WaterCan, a network of water activists across South Africa, utilizing citizen science to hold authorities accountable. South Africa's water resources are highly compromised. The little water we have is threatened by climate change, frequent flooding and droughts, pollution, failing infrastructure, and poor water resource management. We are all affected by this. Working together, we can fix this. It is not too late, but we need to act now. There are hundreds of people and organizations doing amazing things to protect our water resources across South Africa. WaterCan aims to bring citizen science activists and water guardians together to share information, skills, data, and actions. As WaterCan, we are building a decentralized online water quality heat map that is driven by citizen science data. We want to ensure that where there is poor water quality in both rivers and drinking systems, we have a prescribed and coordinated approach to have the issue addressed and hold those in authority accountable. To increase citizen voices, collaboration, and participation in becoming the solution to the gathering of water quality information. WaterCan represents imagination, big dreams, and planning for safe, clean, sustainable water resources for all South Africans. Time is running out. Our water resources need our urgent action. Get involved and become a part of WaterCan now.
Well, there we go. Go along to watercan.org.za to find out more after the show, of course. Ferial's got a question for you. So wherever you find yourself in South Africa today, can you answer this question from Ferial? Okay, what is the question, Ferial?
So I'm curious, and I think we were discussing while the video was going on that, do people know the quality of the water that they drink? Have they ever considered testing it? And are they confident with the water that's coming out of it?
Good question. I'm going to pass it straight on to you as you watch this program tonight. A, do you know the quality, the status of your water, the quality of your water? And do you have confidence in the water that you drink and consume? Put your answers in the comment section down below. We'll read a few out on the show. So you're relying on something called citizen science here. I mean, you're using citizen science, which is quite a sexy term, but just break it down for us. What does citizen science mean?
Okay, so citizen science is not a new thing, and it's not a new phenomenon. It goes back almost 100 years, and it's simple things. It's, if you think about it, bird watching. The whole you see a bird, you take the photograph, you do the geolocation. You're adding to the body of knowledge. The same with identifying plant species, butterflies, all of that. Astronomy as well. You basically, as an ordinary citizen, ordinary person, you're not an expert in it, so you don't have, as you said, qualifications, but you are adding to the body of knowledge. You are adding to that particular body of knowledge. And we are working on citizen science and activism in water. So how do we then, for a long time, people just didn't do any testing around their water. You clean the rivers. You make things look pretty, but you're not sure of the quality, because it just seemed like that is a science thing, and it's not, I don't do science, so you leave it. But this whole concept of citizen science is about making the concept of science accessible to everyone. So schools can do it. All kids can test, and that is, that's basically it. Anyone can do science. What citizen science
Well,
is
I'm
about.
hoping some of the people who are commenting tonight will get involved. People like Denzel, for example. Denzel said he's got no confidence in the water that comes out of his taps. Trevor Patrick says, I know it's not good. Let's see, who else are we? Madeline says, not confident at all. Claire Feldman says, I used to have confidence, but now I'm shocked by the stats, as Mariette gave them to us this evening. It was just crazy what I was listening to. Donnie Hayward says, no, not at all. Tyron says, no idea, and that sucks that I don't have an idea. We expect our municipalities to make sure the water we consume is safe because we pay for this confidence. What next? So you can see the frustration building up amongst ordinary South Africans who do not know what the quality of the water coming out of their taps is.
Look, I think that in some of our municipalities, in the bigger metros, I think that it's fairly safe. The water that's coming out of taps is fairly safe. The challenge, though, is given everything Mariette was talking about, all the statistics that we know, the state of our rivers, the state of our wastewater treatment plant, that it's becoming harder and harder to believe that that is possible. And that is why we need to start keeping people accountable. We need to be the eyes and ears of activist citizen science on water. We need to manage and I think Julia said it, we need to be more involved in protecting and securing our future and protecting our water resources.
Yeah, I've got a feeling if we don't get involved, we're going to face a massive disaster in the future, and maybe not too far away. Brian Blight says, I don't drink water from the tap. 16 years ago, I had a water filtration filters installed. Melissa Whitehorn says, we have a rainwater tank and it tastes amazing. Our municipal water is not bad, but we have a water filter too. Roland also wanted to answer the question about water quality. Roland says, I've got no idea about the water quality into my home. And after tonight, I've got no confidence in it either. A global survey done in the early 1980s rated piped water from the Vaal system to have been the highest quality and more beneficial minerals than bottled mineral water. But I suspect, and this is me talking now, that that's not the case anymore. Another viewer also said, I'm getting bladder infections of the highest grade every 2 months. So people are starting to go, hold on a moment. I got this condition, or I got this recurring problem. Could it possibly be coming from the tap? Which is just scary. And let's just, I want to, the problems are quite obvious now. The solutions, it's the solution that we're looking for. Julius, what do viewers of the show need to do tonight, after the show, or tomorrow in some free time? If it, Donnie and Denzel and others and who have been commenting here are clearly passionate and concerned and thinking about it. So am I. What do I do tomorrow when I get up, or later on this evening, and I think, well, I think I could be a citizen scientist. Take me through the steps. How do I get involved?
Thank you. Thanks for that, Tom. Yeah, I think it's very important to start at home. You need to start looking after how you do water and manage water. So water conservation is key. from there on, I would also encourage people to join, go onto the WaterCan website, watercan.org.za. It's lovely. Go there, please fill out your details on our contact us sheet so that we can keep you in the loop on these citizen science initiatives. We want to start building this network and get everyone around the table and start collaborating and engaging with communities. And also maybe in the same breath, start linking you up with organized communities and other water organizations in your area. I think that's very important. Tom, and we have some campaigns that we're going to follow, throughout the year. We've got the water heat map. We've got the WaterCan platform that we're looking at. There's various initiatives, and it's very exciting. And I think we'll discuss that more in depth in the future. Sure. But I just want to, I'd like to just hang on there for a moment. No one has said that they've got confidence in their water right now. If you walk into any shop, now and you buy a bottle of water, they have to state what's in that water. According to the Consumer Protection Act. Yeah, we're all paying our rates and taxes and a lot of money for water every month. But we don't even get told what the water quality is like. And this is why it's so important. You mentioned earlier, Rand Water says water quality is clean. Great. Well, they pump it to your reservoir. From there, it needs to go through a water reticulation system. That's all the pipes and stuff. We use those specifically, Tom, in Joburg. That's Rand Water.
Yeah.
And the legislation says that the water must be clean and up to standard at point of source, meaning where you open your tap. No one's monitoring in between what's happening. If the infrastructure is deteriorated, if there's other contamination, no one's doing that. And I want to create a bit of a picture. I've just got discolored water here. That's 100 milliliters of water.
Just hold it in the center of the screen, Julius, so we can, in the center.
Can you see? What
is that? It looks like cool drink.
This is cold drink, so I'm not going to, but just to have a bit of fun. That's 100 milliliters of water.
Yes.
Now, Mariette earlier mentioned that there was more than 1 million parts of E. coli in that 100 milliliters of water, and that is something we see often. Now, if you think about it, more than a million parts of bacteria in there, you're eating it, you're not drinking it. I think that's why people love skiing on the Val, because it's very slippery. So no, that's a tongue-in-cheek joke, but that's the reality we're facing. If you drink that water, you will get sick. It's devastating, and sadly, we've seen a lot of people, and I'm sure there's statistics, or maybe hidden, of people actually dying from this. So it's a very serious issue that we've got in the country, and one has to also ask, where's the Department of Health? Where are these guys coming to the party? And I think we still stick to the one component. This is really fundamental. If one municipal manager gets locked up in this country because of pollution, then we'll start seeing change. So it's not about money. It's not about, the infrastructure deteriorating, all that stuff. It's about one person going to jail because they didn't execute their mandate, and they need to be held to account. We've mentioned the VAL earlier. Water and environmental legislation is retrospective, meaning that even those who polluted in the past should be held to account. What we need to see is, with this Human Rights Commission paper, that the municipal managers of 6 to 10 years ago in Mfuleni need to go to jail. That is what I would love to see. So, but anyway, back to your question. I think if civil society starts getting organized and we start participating in these initiatives, not only 1 month, but actually consistently, we need continuity. Start exercising our rights, because we've got so much more power in this democracy than we ever thought of. And I think we need to dig into that a bit in future, because I don't think people really understand what their rights are.
Well,
that's where the power lies. This government has no authority over us.
I'm with you on this.
I think that is very important.
Yeah, go ahead, Ferial.
No, I was going to say that is really important, because we are strong as our supporters, right? And that is so WaterCan can take on a lot more if we build a good supporter base, and that's what we're saying, is that people must get involved.
Well, I'm looking at the comments and I see Denzel says, thanks, Tom. I'll go to the websites and I'm going to attempt to address the water crisis in my community. And I got a feeling that Tyron's going to do it. And I got a feeling that Claire, and I got a feeling that Debbie and Pinky and others who are watching tonight are going to go to watercan.org.za and get it. I want one of those kits. I want to know what's coming out of my tap, and I want to feed the information back, and I want to be part of the solution. What happens when there's Tom and Pinky and Tyron and Madeline and another person and another person, and we keep adding people to this network of citizen scientists, as you call them? Well, how many is enough, and how far do you want to cover? I mean, how much of the country do you want to cover, and how much information do you expect to get out of watercan.org.za at the end of the day? What's the vision?
So we want to cover the whole country. We want to have citizen science people across the country in urban and rural areas. Of course, that is our vision, and that is where we're going. It's still, we need to work towards that, and I don't think it's going to be impossible or going to take us very long to get there. And I think that using the science and the kits, I think it would create lots of people who would be able to test. What we'll be testing and the kind of information and data, we will look at particular parameters that can tell us whether our water is good or not so good. And so we're not going to be doing, you could test 241 parameters to make sure that your drinking water is safe. We are going to be looking at 4 or 5, and that is the data we're going to look, especially things like E. coli, which are important for us to test. So, and that's the data we want to come in. So I think what is important is, as people are testing in their area, say you on your own and your neighbor does it and your neighbor does it, and you realize it's all been testing, to start forming groups and working together. And that is the power of this network.
Well, I think it's a fascinating initiative, and I got a good feeling about this one. I mean, when I'm excited about it and I see other people in the comment section getting juiced up about it, saying, right, how do I get involved? I think it's a great start. Judging by what I'm seeing in the comment section, it's fantastic. Julius, when we go to watercan.org.za, just walk us through the process. What are we going to find at the website, and then how do we become part of it?
Yeah, it's still in early stages, but you can get a bit more insight of what we want to achieve and get to see a bit more on the media perspective on what we're commenting on, what's topical. And we want people to participate. So please engage with us through the Contact Us section. I think that's really crucial, so that we can start building the network. So you're in the loop of our communication and our efforts and what we're doing in future. It's so important. And I think what everyone just exposed and are questioning themselves now is, where is something I can look at that tells me what the quality of my water is, that I can trust? And I think that's really what we want to establish, is a centralized, transparent place where people can see what their water quality is like and actually trust it. Because let's be honest, if government posted it, I will still not give them and not drink that water. So let's start verifying it. And I think it's very progressive, because obviously, if we start doing this right, government will not have a choice but to start participating, and then we can verify. And hopefully that will be the change we need to have more transparency from government as well as private sector.
Well, the two words that come up most often on the show are transparency and accountability, and I think this initiative goes a long way towards getting our water affairs more transparent for all of us to take a look at and understand. I'm going to throw one last question at you, Julius. It's from Roland. Roland says it's good for citizens to be active, but we can't fight forever. We need competence and accountability, into government. What are political parties doing about this? Opposition parties, for example, he mentions the DA for years, pollution and contamination of the Milnerton Lagoon. So I mean, I guess the question is this a push to make political parties do their job properly, or is this something a little different? I mean, is this more about the power of active citizenry and putting pressure on government, or is Roland correct that we should be pushing the opposition parties to create more noise and more opposition, or is that just wishful thinking?
That is wishful thinking. Politics, and we cannot rely on politicians to ensure a positive future for all of us. They focus on elections. Let's let them do that. And I'm not, I think it's time that we take ownership of our problems as citizens. We need to start exposing it. We need to start understanding what those problems are. And we need to start being the part of the solution. Tom, we cannot continue with the blame game. And as Mariette very well mentioned earlier, if government implements their plan, and we've really got to see them implement any plan of the last decade, it will take 104 years to fix the water problems in this country. We don't have that time.
I got to tell
so
you,
what we need to do is to have we need to become organized. We need to get business involved, and then we need to be a force to reckon with, to tell government, okay, now you listen, boy. Come on, let's fix this together. And that's the only way we'll turn things around.
I got to tell you, I got some sympathy, and I can identify with Tyron when he says we need another organization funded by citizens to account for failed government. We're already paying for this. And I get that. I share that sentiment. However, this is not something you're going to have to pay for. You can join up and you can contribute as you go along. And so, this isn't I'm suspecting, Julius, that you're not going to be demanding money and huge payments from water scientists around South Africa. Maybe I'd pay for the kit if you were sending me a kit, but this is, you're not doing this to raise money, are you?
Can I come in there?
Yeah, Ferial.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I can understand the frustration of the listeners in terms of having to pay for everything, and we're already paying for rates and taxes and those kind of things, and that's true. But we're not, it's joining up is free. It's as you said, we could pay for you could pay for the kit if you want, but also in the longer term, we're looking at a water can network that can say your water in your area is polluted, and there are these kind of companies that work there. Connect to them; they could assist in paying for the cleaning up and those kind of things. So that's the kind of partnership we're looking at building, right? So that's the first thing. But the other thing that I want to just stress is that, democracy is not about just voting. It's about about making sure that when you see something is wrong, as a citizen, you are free and comfortable to be able to say that this is wrong. And that is what we're doing. And also right now, our water is in a dire state. It's not going to help us to say, I paid my dues, I cannot fix it. Because 10 years down the line, we will have no water to fix.
Yeah, look,
so
I'd rather...
I think it's everyone's problem, and it's good for everyone to get involved.
I'd rather live in a country where I didn't have to worry about holding politicians accountable or making people do their jobs or fixing problems that weren't mine to start off with. But I think the reality is that that's not where we live. And we've seen time after time, if we leave politicians to do what they want, regardless of the party they come from, they generally don't fix anything. And so pressure is needed, information is needed, and a little bit of input from us, the community, is needed. I think you bring all three together quite nicely with this project, and I'm looking forward to going to the website and joining. I will go to the Contact Us section. I will drop you a mail. I will say, hey, it's Tom Velterfreden Park here, just down the road from the river, and I'd like to be involved. And I encourage anyone watching this evening, despite any reservations you may have, hey, the frustrations are shared by 60 million people in South Africa. We're all frustrated. We're all with that beautiful word, gatvol. But that's not going to get us anywhere. It's action that's going to get us somewhere. And I'm quite happy to go along, join watercan.org.za. I will be one of the first to get one of those testing kits. I'll be interested to know the quality of the water that comes out of my tap. I'll be happy to supply that information back to you. I'll be delighted to meet other people in my area who are as concerned as I am, and I'll be happy to make little groups with them and get involved in community initiatives to make sure that when I turn the tap on in my house, that there's a better chance of clean water coming out than just doing nothing at all. I understand the frustrations, but I do think that we live in a time and we live in a country where if we as citizens don't get up and do something about this, and along the way hold politicians and government accountable, then we're just going to have a disastrous situation. Well, one day we'll turn the tap on and no water will come out, and it will be brown full of E. coli. So, I mean, I don't want that. play your part, I guess is what I'm saying. It doesn't cost anything. watercan.org.za. Go and have a look at it and get in touch with the team via the Contact Us session. Well, we're out of time tonight. I can't wait to talk about this as as you develop it in the future, as more elements come online, and as we start taking a look at results and getting a good idea of what's happening. I'm very excited about this. Ferial, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
That's Dr. Ferial Adam, Project Manager of Water and Environment. Julius Kleinans, Executive Head of Innovations at OUTA. Thank you, Julius.
Always a pleasure, Tom. Thank you, everyone.
And last but not least, Mariette Lieferank, CEO of the Federation for a Sustainable Environment. I assume you're still there, Mariette. We haven't chatted to you for a while, but thank you very much for your input tonight. You gave us some stats and some figures that I know people were listening to and going, oh, no. Well, oh, no, it is. We need to do something about it. Thank you, Mariette.
And I just want to wish OUTA very great success with this initiative. I think it also talks to what the National Water Strategy 2 stated. It says simply that citizens must be encouraged to play a watchdog role, and that is exactly what you will be doing. So I salute you for that.
Fantastic, and thank you, Mariette, for your contribution tonight. We'll bring you on in the future, I'm sure, when we need you to scare us into action a little more. But we do thank you for your time and your valuable input this evening. Right, the last thank you is reserved for you as you watch the show wherever you are in South Africa or around the world. I wish you lots of money in the next week. I hope you make some money. I hope you got some food on your table, a roof over your head, love in your heart and your environment. And now I need to add something. I hope you got clean drinking water for the next 7 days. Hey, next Wednesday, 7 p.m., join me and the team. You've met some of them on the intro to the show tonight. You're gonna find out more about the team that put the show together. You're gonna get used to the faces, and we've got more and more coming as we go along with OUTA Hour. But don't be late. It's a date, 7 p.m. next Wednesday for the live show. You can watch it at any time you like, of course, but we'd like you to be with us live. 7 p.m. next Wednesday. Until then, I'm Tom London, and I miss you already.
Our fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The OUTA Hour, where your voice matters.